There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. Michelle, how are you today? Boy, have we had a fun day today, haven't we?
I know. I feel like we get to say that almost every day, and that's amazing. I would be jealous of us, but I am very excited. I have waited for both of our shows that we're having today. Dr. Martin Mendelson is here with us. He has written a book, which is called One Move Makes the Difference. We're going to talk about that. He's also got his website, morewithmendelson.com. So welcome, Dr. Martin. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to dive in and chit-chat about moves, so to speak.
Yeah.
Moves and careers and burnout and all of the things that are so prevalent in our society right now, because we don't take time for ourselves, and sometimes you need somebody to help you understand how to do that. And Dr. Martin is a coach as well as an author, and he is also and I can't remember if you're still a practicing dentist. Well, I didn't think so.
No longer. That's all part of the journey. That's how I ended up writing the book, to be honest with you. So
it's all part of the journey. And but one of the things that you talk about on your website is that in the world of dentistry, the burnout is substantial. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of folks that because they're there every day doing the work, and burnout and corporate culture becomes a big deal in all that you do these days. And you had an experience that took you out of the dental world into what you're doing now, which I think was kind of a God thing, if you will. So what happened, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I can't believe that it's 23 years ago now that the several months that changed my life occurred. But basically, I was in private practice, never expecting anything to be different for my life. And that was a good life. And I started having problems with my hand. And I was technically misdiagnosed at first. And I just ended up in so much pain that I couldn't continue practicing. So I was actually out of work for 17 months. And so I was out of work at a time where Google didn't exist yet. Actually, even the iPhone hadn't come out yet. And so therefore, I had to find a job the old-fashioned way. And so try to find a job when the world looks at you as, quote, just a dentist, and you're in your mid-30s and you're too old for this and too young for that and too experienced for this and too inexperienced for that. And it was a real challenging time in my life. And so after about 15 months, I ended up getting connected with a dental laboratory. Those are the people that make like the crowns and dentures and bridges. And they hired me as a liaison. So I sat on the phone and made probably 50, 60 calls a day. I actually made 16,000 outbound phone calls during my tenure there. From there, I went to a dental products company overseeing educational initiatives across North America with a over $20 million budget and a team of over 20 people. And for about a decade, I was at a company called Spear Education, which is the largest and one of the most prestigious continuing education firms for dentists in the world. While I was there, I realized that I was coaching, I'll put in air quotes, without having the credentials behind it. And so that about 10 years ago started my journey of executive and team coaching, emotional intelligence, happiness studies. And that's where I started to put the pieces together about the threads that bind us together as humans. I don't care whether you're fixing teeth or fixing cars. The challenges that we face between our ears, the challenges that we face between people are all the same. And I have to tell you, that realization was very important in my life because it changed everything. And it's allowed me to interact and exchange ideas and coach and lead and teach with people from all walks of life, because again, it's the people that are doing the thing. It's not the thing that has anything to do with the people, if that makes sense. So
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And I wanted to touch on dentistry for just a moment because a lot of people, a lot of people, a lot of people go, I'm going to the dentist today, and their friends say, oh, I'm so sorry. Now, very few people love the dentist the way that Brichelle does. So, Brichelle, look at that face. If you're watching this, if you're not watching this on video and you're just seeing it on and you're just listening to it,
that's what it feels like.
She's got this terrible. So these are people that they go into the profession to help people, but nobody goes to them on purpose, or they don't go to them to have a good time. They go there because they have to. Does that put a lot of wear and tear on the psyche of a dentist?
Oh, 100%. In fact, the research is pretty unfortunate and pretty clear. Most people think that dentists have the highest suicide rate. That's actually not completely true, although it is one of the highest. Believe it or not, attorneys have one of the highest as well. We also have 2.5 times the incidence from the general population of anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and depression. So dentistry is a very difficult profession to do physically as well as mentally. And think about another job where people come in and they go, you know what, I hate you and I don't want to be here. And so that is very jarring emotionally. And I'd also like to share with you a bit of research that usually shocks non-dental folk, which is this. They've measured the blood pressures of dentists giving local anesthesia, and their blood pressure goes up. So how many injections does a dentist give a day? It's quite a number. And so what I want you to think about is the idea that you're in this fight or flight or sympathetic nervous system mode all day, every day. And then, oh yeah, by the way, you also have to run a business called a practice and deal with all the staff issues and staff challenges and supply chain issues and rising prices. It's a very difficult way to make a living relative to wear and tear on the mind and body. So that's part of it.
Well, and yeah, because I had a dentist for a number of years, and every time I went to the dentist, like every 6 months for a cleaning or something, there was a new receptionist there, because the turnover of the support staff and it is really, really high. So not only are you trying to help people and run your practice, you're also becoming the HR guy, and you're the executive of the team, and you're doing you have to put on so many hats, and then you have to have people like Brichelle who come to you that look like she's about ready to die as they're sitting in your chair and you're about to give her an injection. I don't know that you've ever had an injection, Brichelle, have you?
Oh God. Yeah, I had braces for like 5 years. These teeth didn't manifest themselves. Okay. And I'm glad. I know coming out of high school, dentist work was like one of the things they pushed on us, now that I think about it. And I thought about being a dental assistant. Thank God. If I had somebody coming to my chair, I'm like, we get to freak out together. This is not therapy. This is trauma. But there's been so many experiences that I've had. My orthodontist was, I hated being there, but I loved him. I loved who he was. I loved the way he did his work. I loved how he calmed me down. I seemed normal, right? It's like a duck on the water, until I stood up and you could see my full body print sweat across the paper. Then you realize she wasn't calm that whole time, although she may have seemed that way. But I went for him specifically. And then now I haven't been to go to get a dentist cleaning. People, don't judge me. We're all love and faith and peace here. Okay. I haven't been to the dentist, Dr. Martin, in probably like 3 or 4 years, because I had one bad experience
Yeah.
that traumatized me to the max. Like I was crying. I couldn't eat. It was just a dental cleaning that turned into a nightmare. And I haven't gone back. But this work that you do, you're like literally somebody's therapist, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though, although it's not a fair comparison because we're talking about medical care versus non-medical care.
Yeah.
Did you know years ago, the Ritz-Carlton did a survey and they figured they wanted to know why individuals who came once didn't come back.
Mhm.
And the overriding reason was the interaction with one staff member.
Yep.
So although there's other factors, admittedly and respectfully, within a dental visit, isn't it interesting how one experience can change us regardless of the situation or scenario? So,
yeah. Well, I'm curious because you went through all these things and you got over it, not even the physical of it, but the mental side of it.
yeah.
And you said that directed you into the book.
Yeah. So I had a situation right after my first round of surgeries that I talk about in my book, and it's kind of become known in my keynotes as a sweet and low story. But basically, picture a guy who's been in dentistry since he was 16. He was a dentist at that point for almost 10 years. Goes and has surgery on his hand. They tell him it's carpal tunnel and he'll be fine. And then he tries to open up a sweet and low packet and you couldn't do it because of the searing pain. And so I had this moment of jumping a catastrophe, as I've come to call it in my book, where these thoughts started to get ahead of me. And I had this one thought, this one move of thought in the corner of my brain that went something like this. And I can't account for it. I don't know where it came from, but it's the little voice in my head said something like, you know what, Martin, if this is what the universe has in plan for you, then you are going to be okay. I didn't imagine who or where or what, or never imagined being interviewed on podcasts, to be honest with you. But from that day forward, I had a shift in mindset, which ultimately not just led to the book, but the core of my book, which I know we'll get into, which is the TEAM framework, all about how your thoughts drive emotions that create actions that manifest, shall we say, your life, or the soundtrack of your life, as I often say. So thoughts are critically important based upon your interpretation of the events that you're going through in your life at that time.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that one individual can make the difference whether or not somebody's going to come back or not. And that statistic, when a CEO hears it, or the owner of a business hears it, that's got to be really frightening, because what they may have not recognized is that the reason their business isn't growing is because of that receptionist that they have that hates her job and doesn't feel good about what they're doing there. And that's a big deal. And that's part of what you help people with, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. And it's all about how you interact with the world around you. And so to be fair, the cornerstone of my work from a, shall we say, thought leader perspective came from a quote by a man by the name of Viktor Frankl. And Dr. Frankl wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And for those that are unfamiliar with Dr. Frankl, he was a neurologist, a psychiatrist, and a Holocaust survivor. So he survived the horrors of Auschwitz for several years and was interned at the age of 37 as a neurologist and psychiatrist. So he was observing this horrific experience with this knowledge. And there's this quote that's been attributed to him that has become, as I said, the cornerstone of my work. And it is this: between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space lies our freedom to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So what I teach, what I talk about, what I write about is the idea that everything that happens in life is neutral. It's your thought that gives it power, that creates an emotion, that creates an action or inaction, because inaction's action, folks, that will ultimately manifest the results. So think about being in an airport. Like, air travel today is not exactly a fun experience, right?
You're bringing up all my fears.
So,
Doctor, you're 2 for 2 so far.
Well, it's kind of funny. So we got to pause here for a second. So my father, who's still with us, he's 96. He was president of engineering for Pratt & Whitney, which is a jet engine manufacturer. Mm-hmm. So I was born to never be afraid of flying because, I heard all the positive statistics about how safe it is. But anyway, so, you observe somebody's behavior, and the truth is people do the best they can with the skills they have at the time. And we have no idea what's going on in somebody else's life. And so for us to then come upon a situation, and I'm not excusing people being rude or people being violent or anything, so please don't misunderstand. But we also have to understand that if a person is gruff to you or rude in your interpretation, that's your interpretation. And so, not discounting bad behavior, but by the same token, you have no idea what happened to that person an hour, a day, or a month prior to that. And so there's a bit of grace that I think we're missing in our society today. And we jump to the conclusions in our own brain, and we don't understand the cost that we're levying on ourselves by jumping to these conclusions based on interactions that are all generated on thoughts that may or may not even be true. So, yeah.
And to your point, Doctor, when we come back from this break, I'm going to have Rochelle tell the almost road rage story that she had to deal with, and the outcome of which made the guy who was experiencing the road rage because of somebody else feel like a little smaller than he was.
I taught him grace.
I love it. I love it.
So we will be right back. And by the way, if you are interacting with another human, and Dr. Martin, we're going to talk about this, be a good listener. It always helps. We'll be right back. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. The world doesn't need more noise. Everyone knows we have enough of that. What we need is more listening, because listening creates understanding. Listening builds bridges, and listening reminds people that they matter. Real progress happens when we slow down long enough to hear one another, not to fix, not to judge, just to understand someone else's point of view. When conversations are rooted in respect and humanity, they have the power to heal, inspire, and move people forward. That's our mission. That's why we're here. I hope you'll join us. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Michelle's right there. And Dr. Martin, what did you think of that piece?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, look, I'm biased. I teach people how to listen. And
by the way, that's a really, really hard job is to teach people to actually listen with intent. But Michelle's got a story about creating expectations where none exists.
I love it.
Yeah. I've had a few things happen to me like this recently, and the more it happens, the more I pay attention to it, and the more I am careful about how I'm acting when I'm that person going through something and want to react. So I'm driving, just a normal casual day. I'm listening to music, and traffic is going, and it's starting to be that hour. People are trying to get home, and things are crazy. I see behind me, there's kind of this car that's just like keeps going back and forth, but not really making any movement forward. And every single person, it seemed like to me, was keeping him from getting through. And we had crossed maybe 2 or 3 lights. Then we hit a red light, and there was the guy that was behind me, and saw him coming up to the side, cut him right off, right in front of him. So it's me and that guy now at the light who I'm looking at because I recognized him, and the guy sitting behind him. And the light changes, and he's like literally almost touching his car, to the point where I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? So I speed up and I get in front of him, and the other car gets around me. And again, he goes to turn. So he's behind me and cuts him off once more. And then as the next light had changed, this guy sped up, got in front of him, turned right, and booked it across like 5 lanes to turn where? Into the hospital. When we hit that next red light, I made sure to look at him intentionally again. Like, dude, all you had to do was decide to step back and get the hell out of the way. But no, he wanted to insert him. He wanted, he took it as a challenge. And I think we naturally kind of do that. It's like, oh, this person wants to drive faster. They want to race. I'm that person too. Sometimes I'm like, oh, you want to go fast?
Sure.
We'll go together. But we're so in our own center zone, focused on only us and the world that we're encapped in, that when we look outside of it and we realize what's going on around us, it will seriously change a person. And I'll tell you, maybe it taught that guy next to me, yes, but that taught me as well.
Yeah, what a fantastic story. I'm kind of blown away by it, and I'm gonna hit you up after we finish recording to write down the details, because I want to share this story, because truthfully, when I'm teaching my team framework, one of the things I talk about is the idea of driving to the office and somebody cuts you off. And typically people's first thought is, that jerk, or some other expletive we won't say on air. And think about the emotional cost of that, right? You're getting angry. You might then, therefore, like the other folk you were talking about, cut somebody off. That's the action. And how does that really manifest driving safely?
Yep.
Well, do you even know that the person saw you in a different scenario where they cut you off? The answer is no. And they don't even know you. So do you think they did it on purpose?
Or they're driving by and they're like, "Wah!"
Yeah, you don't know the answer to that. So put yourself behind the wheel, and instead of saying that jerk or whatever else you want to say to yourself, whoa, I'm glad I didn't get hit. I don't even know if they saw me. And I know if everybody can just go through that mental exercise right here and now, you will feel the difference of an emotional charge between that jerk and, whoa, I'm glad I avoided that.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing I'm trying to teach people, is that when we jump to catastrophe, when we jump to assumption, one of the primary people, and in many cases, the only people that suffers, is us. And it's a huge challenge that we face in society.
Well, and we raise our own blood pressure by a story that we're telling ourselves that may have no basis in reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what's funny about that, Kevin? Actually, one time I was sitting on my bed. This is right after I started working with you, or right before. I was sitting on my bed downstairs, and I was inside going like 110 miles an hour. And I wasn't sitting, I wasn't running, I wasn't doing anything. My mom came and put her watch on me. I think my heart rate was at like 117. So 117 beats per minute, and I was sitting perfectly still. And when I realized that I was doing that to myself, it was the same moment of that I felt when that guy went around, and I thought, what if I would have been him? How many times have I been him, gotten my heart rate up that fast while I'm driving something that is highly dangerous in any situation? It's when you have that catch moment, Dr. Martin, it makes you think of more than just that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, when you're aware of these kind of things, that's when you really start to notice that you're changing, because look, skills are skills. And, whether you're talking about dentistry or tech folks, because I'm keynoting a tech conference next month, we tend to give more respect and clarity to skills of the hands or skills of the keyboard. And we don't give as much respect and patience to skills of the mind. But skills are skills, patterns are patterns, habits are habits. And this kind of stuff takes time to develop, because you've developed a pattern of thought, a pattern of action over years. And depending on your age, it's decades. And so to think that you're going to overcome this stuff overnight is frankly laughable. It's a journey, not a destination. And so when you start to notice the change, I'll give you another example. I spoke last week in Montgomery, Alabama. I had a wonderful time. Took an early flight to get home quicker. I live in Phoenix, so it's not a short trip. Was on the plane at 6 in the morning. We were still boarding, active boarding. And my app goes off and my connection in Dallas was canceled. The next thing I know, my flight that I was sitting on that was boarding was canceled. Why? Because it was horrific weather in Dallas. So they rebooked me 6.5 hours later. But what was I supposed to do about it? It was weather, right? And I got to tell you both in all candor, I didn't realize this till after I was home. I didn't get upset the entire time, because truly my thoughts were, well, I'm glad I didn't fly into that storm. I'm glad I'm going to get home. And in fact, I had the same kind of seats on both legs. Like, everything worked. I had a book I was really into reading. And so I just looked at all the other stuff, which is just as valid as the negative stuff. And, look, I travel a lot. So I've had this happen before, right? So part of it is desensitization. But by the same token, it was a choice I made of what I was going to focus on. I could have been angry and frustrated or been grateful that I was still going to get home. And it was a choice I chose to make.
And Dr. Martin, I'm willing to bet that when they canceled that flight and you had to get off the plane, that there was somebody, and probably more than one, that went to the customer service agent that was right there and was, what do you mean this is canceled? It's the weather. We can't control,
And it's funny they were mad about that, Kevin, because that's their safety.
Yeah.
People are sometimes we reach a state of irrationality when it comes to that sort of a thing, and we want our first inclination, Doctor, isn't it to blame somebody? And it's to blame somebody that you can't blame, like God for the weather. So, but you can blame that stupid customer service rep because the flight got canceled and they didn't book me on the next one in 5 minutes, kind of thing. So but it raises our blood pressure. And then also, by the way, it affects how you respond to other people throughout that day. 100%. And how many times have you heard somebody, Michelle, say, boy, have I had a bad day. I had this happen. And then because they have set themselves up to have a crappy all day based upon something that may have been totally out of their control. That guy that was driving, he may have had a really bad day with his wife, kicked the dog, got in trouble at work, all because of something that he should not have even been worried about. That happens to us a lot, isn't it, Doctor?
It's true. And it's almost as if you're in my brain, because what I often say is life is not a game of dominoes, folks. And just because you spilled your coffee, then somebody cut you off, and then somebody on your team is late, they're not connected. Sorry. And, often when I work with teams or individuals, they say, I had a bad day, like you were just talking about. And my tongue-in-cheek response is, really? Did you have a bad day, or did you have 5 or 20 minutes that you turned into 24 hours? Because which is it?
See, I've been having people, they come to me and they're like, oh, today's just not it. Today's against me, or whatever they say. And I'm like, okay, well, what good happened? And then they have to sit and think about it. I'm like, so you haven't even been paying attention to like half of the day?
You know what I do? That's a very simple exercise. And I don't even remember now what happened last week, but I had to do it for myself last week because I'm not perfect. And you just take a simple piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and put the crappy stuff on the left and good stuff that happened on the right. And you're going to notice real quick that the good stuff outweighs the bad stuff. And what I also want to share with you, based upon research, because there's a lot of science in my book, even though it's written very much like we're talking here. Your brain doesn't know the difference between let's say you love designer shoes. Your brain doesn't know the difference between getting a pair of Louboutins versus saying to yourself, you know what, my coffee was really good today. It's the same impact. And so oftentimes what I find, because we can talk about gratitude in a moment, what I find when people are starting to practice this gratitude thing, which a lot of people don't give enough credence to, they think it's got to be grandiose, but actually it doesn't need to be at all. It could be something as simple as, man, my coffee was really good today. That's all you got to do.
And I have to say, Dr. Martin, I have told Kevin, since I moved into my new place, I was on the run for a coffee place, decided to go back to a family-owned business that my family's involved in. I told him one morning, he asked me, how are you? I said, I am so thankful. He said, why? I said, because my coffee was so good this morning, it made me cry. And wow. I tell you what, that definitely set my day up.
Absolutely.
Well, and your lovely Pop, who I don't know if he's listening today or not, he said that he went to bed with vitamin G.
Yep.
Oh, I like that.
Yep.
That's neat.
And what is vitamin G?
Vitamin gratitude. And I love that we're choosing to talk about this when we come back from the break, because I'm realizing, Doctor, like I'm in this myself as a 27-year-old female of the world. And I tell Kevin all the time, I catch myself realizing later, like you said, I didn't even realize, but I didn't react.
Yeah.
I just let it be, as Kevin's always told me. And then what that transfers into is gratitude. So let's talk about that when we come back.
Great.
And we're talking with Dr. Martin Mendelson, and his website, Rochelle, is?
Yes, visit his website, which is morewithmendelson.com. He's got everything there, including the book, One Move Makes All the Difference.
And sometimes that's all the difference that you need, is that one move to make your life a whole lot better. And by the way, everybody else who knows you, it'll make their life better too. And we'll be right back right after this. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio Network. We're on a mission to entertain, enlighten, empower, and educate through inspiring music, dynamic conversations, and yes, laughter. Join me, Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle, as we declare our freedom from hate, division, and fear, and celebrate a better way of living. Go to positivetalkradio.net to find out more. Do you want your child to develop lifelong emotional skills as well as academic ones? We teach kids how to read, how to count, how to behave. But what if we taught them how to understand themselves? Abracadabra by Terry Bean is a gentle reminder for children and adults that emotions aren't something to fix. They're something to listen to through imagination instead of instruction. This beautifully written story helps children feel seen, safe, and understood. It builds emotional awareness, self-trust, and the kindness without screens or pressure. Paired with the companion creativity book, reflection becomes expression, and lessons become lasting tools. If you want to nurture emotional confidence, calm, and creativity, this is where it begins. This isn't screen time. This is connection time. This is storytelling with purpose and a sprinkle of magic. Buy Abracadabra today and give a child tools they can carry for a lifetime. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin. Rochelle is right there, and we've got a great cast. I got to tell you, Dr. Martin Mendelson is with us, and he's in my head all the time because a lot of what he talks about, I used to say that I believe in things. I now don't believe in things. I know certain things, and a lot of the things that he talks about, I just know. That's a better way to be. And Rochelle said it best. And Doctor, the gospel according to Paul McCartney, let it be. So welcome to, Dr. Mendelson and Rochelle. His website again and his book.
Yes, the website is morewithmendelson.com. The book is called One Move Makes All the Difference. And Doctor, you cannot make these things up. I have to tell you, as we're talking about going into gratitude, our team just sent us a message of a review that we got from a show prior. And the message they put of the review is titled Gratitude for the Voice.
Oh,
we just got that on the dot as we took the break. So let's talk about gratitude. What is it to you?
So gratitude is a tool. People give it a lot of lip service, but let's talk a little bit about a little of the research. So talk about this in my book and in my keynotes again. There's a psychologist by the name of Dr. Martin Seligman. I love his first name, don't you?
Yeah,
and he's a giant in positive psychology circles. And it's been said, this is a little bit of mythology, but I think it's true, that he got up in front of the American Psychological Association at one point and said, Houston, we got a problem. We're studying all this mania, depression, and anxiety. What about the positive stuff? And so in one of his landmark studies, he worked with diagnosed depressed patients. And he asked them to write down 3 things they were grateful for 7 days and stop. They were then evaluated at 1, 3, and 6 month intervals. They reported greater levels of happiness, lower levels of depression, higher levels of life satisfaction than the control group on meds. Now, if you're analytical and that's a little too mushy-gushy for you, I'll see you a Seligman and I'll raise you a red wine. Dr. Redwine had the same study construct, but the subject group was different. He worked with stage B heart failure patients and the difference between pre and post-study blood draws, their inflammatory biomarkers reduced. So this gratitude stuff makes a lot of sense. And there's all kinds of other fun studies we could talk about relative to the mind-body connection. But the point is that this stuff works. And it can be used as a tool to dig you out of difficult conversations. So would you like to hear about a summer afternoon day in Phoenix, Arizona, when it was 118 degrees? Okay. Actually 110. I got it. 110. So we're foodies, and there was this ice cream shop 23 miles away that we wanted to go to. So we drove in our car. We pull into the lot, and the car starts going crazy with all the warnings and blah, blah, blah. We blew a tire. It's 110 degrees, 112, I think, to be clear. So pick up our app. We connect to AAA. They're going to be able to pick us up, but it's like an hour. And so I figured, all right, well, we're here. Let's go get the damn ice cream. So we did. 20 minutes in, probably actually not even longer than that, because I remember we were standing in line. We hadn't got our ice cream yet. We get a message that they're going to be there in 20 minutes. This gentleman shows up. He is the nicest man in the world. Like, seriously. And he pulls up and he goes, well, where would you like me to drop you off? Because with your membership, I can drop you anywhere in a 100-mile radius. And I said, oh, I didn't realize that, because I was looking at all these tire places on the app. There's one a mile from my home. I don't know if they're open, because all the ones I checked on the app were closed, because this was a Sunday. Lo and behold, they were open, and they were holding a 2-for-1 sale. So here's the thing. In eating my ice cream, and then also on the way to the tire place with the car in the back, because he drove us there in his cab, I was thinking to myself, you know what? Oh my gosh, I am so flippin' grateful. We did not break down on the side of the road when it was 110 degrees. I still got my ice cream. Instead of an hour, it was literally probably 20 minutes. The guy was super nice, brought us to anywhere we wanted to go that had a sale. I am not making this up. By the time I got home, I was literally happy because I was focusing on the stuff that was equally real yet positive versus the negative stuff. And so I wrote about this on my LinkedIn profile, actually, and got a gazillion of views. It was very interesting. But it's true. You have a choice what you focus on. And if that story doesn't convince you that maybe there's a different way, I don't know what would be. So.
Well, and you just said how impactful it is to our health. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know stress is a killer, and I know that's why I choose to wake up. I tell Kevin all the time, he's like, how are you today, kid? And some of those days I'm like, it is. And I stay away from saying it's one of those days because I make it whatever it is. And Kevin's been saying this recently. I want to know what you think of it, because he said it before, but some reason it hit me different. Monday, he told me, when you wake up every morning, I want you to decide my life is meaningless and empty. That doesn't seem positive, but then he said, you can fill it up with whatever you want. Yeah. So I can choose to fill it up with all the bad things that happen. I could stub my toe and drop something on the floor and fall down the stairs and whatever happens. But anything else could happen. The sun could come out. There could be a bird that I get to take in that needs my love and care. There could be anything in the world. But if I'm not focused on the good, is it harder for me to see it because of the negative being stronger? Because I ask you this because ever since he told me to start focusing on what I'm filling it up with, I've realized how much, maybe not negative, but how much energy I was taking from myself to say, yeah, all these positive things happened today. But I also see how that one negative thing could have had full control.
So there's a couple things to unpack here. The first is, yes, we do have an innate negativity bias that does exist. However, that can be overcome. And there's something called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon that everybody listening has experienced. So think about the last time you bought a new car, new to you or new off the showroom floor, doesn't matter. You start driving around, what'd you start to notice? All the same and similar make and model vehicle that you just bought. Why? Because you're focused on it. Our days are exactly the same. So if you wake up and you say, my life is poop, what are you going to think about all day?
Oh.
If you wake up and you say, I'm grateful that I got up, you know, my grandfather, may rest in peace, used to joke, it's like he gets up and he makes sure he's not in the obituaries. He can see himself in the mirror. It's a good day. So
that is a good day.
So we have a choice what we want to focus on. Now, you brought me to something really important that's important to me as a person and also important to my teachings, which is this. None of what I've said has anything to do with what's called toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is, quote, good vibes only. Good vibes only is not exactly a positive thing because you are ignoring and negating all the other stuff. And true happiness is a comparative emotion. So we can't understand happiness without also understanding and having experienced sadness. So the point to this is we need to make sure that the listeners understand that, yeah, you're going to have bad things that are happening to you. And I'm not proposing that you don't get angry about it. You don't deal with your emotions. That's not what we're proposing. What I'm proposing is really allowing them to flow through and flow past you by using gratitude as a tool to be able to focus on other things. So the tool that I tend to talk about is kind of like this 3-step process. So you've heard the term everything happens for a reason.
Oh, sure.
That's a bit loaded, and that in and by itself could be considered toxic positivity. And so I've kind of come to flipping it into, well, what happens, happens. All right? It's a little bit different. So you say to yourself, what happens, happens. Step 2 is you give yourself the grace to get upset about it. And depending on what it is, that might take a minute, an hour, a day, a month, or a year to get through. Because, for example, spilling coffee on your shirt is a lot different than losing a loved one, as a huge dichotomous example. So allow yourself the grace to deal with it and then say, what has this experience taught me? How have I grown from this? If you were involved directly by your actions in the negative thing that happened, then what can I do differently next time to make sure or reduce the possibility that that will happen again? So it's a way to allow your emotions to flow through and flow past you without necessarily getting stuck, right? Because the truth of the matter is that the past has already happened and dwelling on it isn't going to do you any good because you can't change it. Now, by extension, looking at the future with positivity is just as valid as negativity. Why? Because neither's happened yet. And if neither's happened yet, you end up paying a cost of worrying about what hasn't happened yet. And guess what? All you got's the present. Because that past has already happened. The future hasn't happened yet. And when you get to that future, guess what? That's now your present. And if I didn't bend your brain just then, I probably did. But it's a reality. It's a truth.
And that describing it the way you just did is a great way for you, rather than to be a victim of having, oh, life is just terrible and it's just happening to me. You now are taking the position that, okay, this happened. So I can take steps to prevent that from happening again, because I can't do anything about what just happened.
Absolutely.
But I can take steps to prevent it from happening again, like a road rage incident or some of the things that happen to us. I rather it's like, well, I probably shouldn't flip him off again next time. It might be more successful of a strategy to keep me from having to run for my life if I, because I don't know. I'm sure Dr. Martin has never happened to you where it's like, and then they flip you off back, and then it becomes a great big thing. That never happens to Brichelle, does it, Brichelle?
Oh, no. I am so peaceful and patient and calm all the time. Just kidding. I'm human. And Dr. Martin, I want to tell you before we take this next break that I think I relate to you and your work so much specifically as I am learning these actual things. I'm like a testimony for positive talk and everything we come to learn, because I just told Kevin over the weekend, there's this space in me that I can't understand, but it feels fake. And I bring that up because you just said, just because you're positive and just because you have gratitude doesn't mean that you're ignoring the things that are hard and that
Yeah.
are bad. Bad things happen. Things do suck. Things hurt. Things make you angry. That's okay. I used to do that. When I first started with Kevin, it was like, oh, I can make anything I want. So I started going around and just, oh, well, that happened for a reason. Oh, maybe there's a good thing to that. And, I wasn't being realistic with how did that make me feel? Did that
Yeah.
actually affect me? There wasn't the void anymore. And so when I came to Kevin and I said, I'm grateful and I love everything. There's nothing I can really complain about right now. But there are things that aren't positive and aren't the best. And I've had to face, hey, there's things inside that are affecting me day to day. It doesn't mean I have to fake positive about that. But it doesn't mean I have to be angry and moving through life forgetting the positive and the grateful too. So when we come back from this break, I'm really begging you to share with me and our audience maybe something that you've learned that can help create a bridge between the two of those extremes to help us live a little more harmoniously, if you will. So.
And we're going to continue with this coaching session for Rochelle right after this message. So, which, by the way, Dr. Martin, I'm extremely thankful for. And I've got a lot of gratitude for you because you can help Rochelle in a myriad of ways. And so we're going to continue down that road, Dr. Rochelle. What do you think?
Yes. People feel free to learn through me because I'm going through it. Okay. So I hope it helps you too. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. In a dark room, a single candle was lit. That tiny flame chased away the shadows, filling the space with hope. Your courage, your kindness, and your light may seem small at times, but it can change someone's entire world. Never underestimate the power you already carry inside. Even the smallest flame can ignite a fire that transforms lives. You are listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back to Positive Talk. Dr. Martin Mendelson is here, and he's the candle who is going to light the flame that's going to create the brand new Rochelle. What do you say?
I'm up for it. Let's go.
Oh, yay. Well, more than anything, maybe to create some bridges. And that's how I've kind of been trying to think about it, Dr. Martin, is it doesn't have to be this or that, but it doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle either. But is there a bridge? Are they guided together? Is there some way that they can fit together? Because it is hard for us to think, okay, well, it doesn't have to be that way, then it can be this way. And then we jump to the other extreme. So what is something that we can do to try to help build some of those bridges within our own minds?
Oh, I love that question. So a couple things. Often when someone first hears about my team framework, it's discussed because I don't know how else to do it, in kind of a linear fashion. Your thoughts create emotions, that create actions, and manifest results. But the truth is we're very complex people. And so team, I envision like this orb around us. And depending on the gravity, the size, how emotionally charged the stimulus is, you may start with the thoughts that lead to the emotions. You may immediately go to the emotions. You may immediately go to the actions, like those people in the cars you were talking about that, just got so riled up, they just cut somebody off because that's where they were. So I think we all need to realize that depending on the situation and the intensity, we're going to enter the team world in a various place. So the bridge, the tool, is something I talk about quite often, and it's another acronym because I like those. And it's called it's NBCA. So like the network NBCA. Let me explain. You come upon something and you have thoughts, you have emotions, you have actions, whatever. You notice it. That's the N. You've got to notice it first. The B stands for breathe. Just take a moment and think about what you want to do next. The C stands for choose. And the A stands for act. Now, let me explain. Just because you choose something between your ears doesn't mean you do it. So I felt that those steps had to be separate. You choose between your ears and then you act upon it. So the bridge is a way to kind of take the temperature down, where you notice, you breathe, you choose, and you act. Now, as a side note to that, oftentimes we are in, magic thought land, as I like to say. And so the $1 million coaching question for yourself, when you're in a situation and you're thinking, oh, that jerk, they did it on purpose, blah, blah, blah. The magic question is, how true is that? How true is that this person did it on purpose? You don't know. How true is it that they saw you when they cut you off? You don't know, right? How true is it that your coworker that greeted you gruffly today did it because they don't like you? You don't know. So how true is that can be a very powerful question. So that's my bridge, the
assumption. So choice then will cut out assumption.
To a large degree, yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Assumption gets a lot of us into a lot of trouble because we assume that things are going to happen the same way or similarly to previous experiences. And actually, assumption was one of the concepts in my first coaching certification that we spent quite a bit of time on, and it really made an impact on me. And basically, it goes something like this. Unless the person's situations, facts, and circumstances are exactly the same, you can't assume that it's going to happen the same way again because the variables have changed. And so if you're a small business owner and you're trying to find help and people to hire and you're like, nobody wants to work today. Well, how true is that? You live in a, major metropolitan city. There's, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. Nobody wants. How true is that? Right? So it could be a very powerful yet very simple question.
Very good. And Kevin, I'm sorry, I just get so excited. It's because I know that if these questions help me this much, they're helping so many more people. But do you have a question maybe about the book?
Well, I wanted to ask you and the difference between your reaction and my response. And that beat that you take in between the reaction or the measured response.
Yeah.
Can change everything, but you need to take that beat and you need to back down from yourself to not react suddenly. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And it goes back to the Viktor Frankl quote. It becomes a choice. Between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space lies our freedom to choose our response. So it's a choice. Now, in the heat of the moment, though, the choice, or shall I say the first choice, may not necessarily be the response. It may be the opportunity to breathe for a minute, right? So it does always go down a choice. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where because the stimulus is so intense that you are reacting very, very quickly, well, take a step back and be like, you know what, hold on. I apologize for saying that, doing that, et cetera, et cetera. I just need a minute. I'd like to respond differently if I may, kind of thing.
That's been me all the time. And I've learned that's okay. That is okay to do. Yeah. And you'll be more thankful for yourself, and so will the other person. I've come to realize, Dr. Martin, that it's okay to just take a step back, take a break, have a breath, and ask yourself, where am I at right now?
Totally.
And is it also okay to give yourself a break and to say, there are 8 billion people walking around this world. There is nothing that I could possibly do that somebody else hasn't done before me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, look, even in my own work, that it's all similar but different, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I tried to paint, shall we say, mental pictures through not just my story, but what I'm so proud of is in my book, I talk about so many amazing people, many of whom are my friends, like my friend Sean Swarner, who climbed Mount Everest with one functioning lung because he survived 2 independent cancers before he was 18. Or my friend Kimberly Locke, who was a 3rd runner-up on American Idol, who almost didn't go to the audition because she wanted to go to law school. Or my friend James, who grew up in a small town, Arizona, ends up as Fiyero in Wicked on Broadway because he chooses to learn and to, take any role that comes along, et cetera, et cetera. So all those and more are in my book that I'm so proud of to get people to understand it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. Our lives end up coming down to choice, regardless of the situation.
And by the way, the name of his book is One Move Makes All the Difference. How to Discover Your Power and Transform Your Life. Doctor, did you ever see the movie City Slickers?
Years ago.
And I forget the older gentleman's name, but he was the cowpoke. And he said, and he was asked, what's the secret to life?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, one thing. And he said, oh, please tell us what that one thing is. And he never would respond because it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And so what is that one thing that you talk about in your one move makes all the difference? What is that move? And we will worship you from now on.
Well, I mean, it's like in City Slickers, the one move is going to be different for the different people in the different situation. But what I will say, though, is I think the one move is to say to yourself, I'm going to watch my thoughts. That would be the one move, because from that can waterfall so many other wonderful positive things just by making that one move of commitment to watch your thoughts.
So if you start watching your thoughts and then you discover that you don't like the thoughts that you're watching, then what do you do?
Well, that's a great point. So, we are all at choice is a foundational principle of one of my programs. And so if you don't like your thoughts, then change the thoughts. So in other words, and if you say to me, well, this is just the way I am. I'm like, no, this is the way you've chosen to be. And so if you say to yourself, I'm just, people annoy me and blah, blah, blah. And so when you come upon a situation, you start thinking about the negative stuff about people, then make the choice to find something that you like about them or that's okay in the situation, and sometimes that might be harder than others, but I guarantee you, if you look hard enough or if you're committed significantly enough would be a better way to put it, you'll find the good stuff. I know you will.
And doctor, I can't tell you how many people over my lifetime have I heard, well, that's just the way I am.
My great grandpa says that.
Yeah,
I'm like, honey, you can be like me.
Yeah. Well, that goes to emotional intelligence. And the answer that I would say to that is no, that's not just the way you are. That's the way you choose to be.
Yeah. And I love the way he puts it, Kevin, because it's like you give yourself permission. Nobody else, nothing else. Mm-hmm. You're not waiting around for anything. It's like, no, I choose this. And you gain control of yourself. Like, isn't that what we're all chasing? Kevin, do you say that? Are you going to wake up tomorrow and say, I choose?
To what?
Anything. You could do it's up to you. That's the whole point.
I first of all, when I wake up in the morning, I choose to go visit the restroom. No, that's not true. That's actually not a choice. Now that I think about it,
that's
but
true.
At the same time, life is a choice, and you can do what And Dr. Martin, there was a football coach. His name was Frosty Westerling at PLU. He was a national champion coach, and he coached for like 25 years. He wrote a book that said, "Make it a great day." He always told his players, "Make it a great day." And when his players said, "I don't feel like it's a good day," then he said, "Well, it's your choice." And so that then becomes your own personal responsibility. If you're going to have a crappy day, that's because you decided that you were going to have a crappy day.
Yep, absolutely. 100%. Couldn't agree more. Yep.
Doesn't belong to anybody else. That then belongs to you. And so
that's
is
where responsibility kicks in.
Is that a little uncomfortable, Michelle? Because I know that you have said
that person.
Yeah.
Yep. And it made me mad. Everything made me mad. There was nothing you could say that wasn't like, oh, but it was almost a challenge. Like, what more could I be mad about? But it was the same way the other way around, doctor. It was this eye-opening, like, whoa, if I could be mad about all of this, I can be happy about that, and I can smile about this, and I can help that person just because I did smile. Really, and we always say this. Choosing to be kind doesn't cost you anything. Choosing to make that choice doesn't either. And that's where it starts.
I love that. That's great. Absolutely.
Oh, I love getting smarter.
And Dr. Martin Mendelson has been our guest. And will you promise me on your book, which I know is near and dear to your heart, that you'll come back?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, because we ain't done with you yet, young man.
That was good. That was cute. Yeah.
We got lost. I said sounded like the guy from Deliverance, but we're not going to go there. But I value the man that you are, the experiences that you've had, and all of those things. We are very grateful for you being here, writing the book, and being on the planet, because that's how meaningful change happens.
Yep.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a great experience. It means a lot to be able to magnify my message to others. So thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And just so you know, and we'll never know who they are, but either today or another day in the near future or 5 years from now, when they hear this episode, they're going to be thinking, I've been thinking about that all day, and it's going to matter, and it's going to mean something. And we'll never know who they are. It's just like the people who pick up your book. Some of them may write a review, but many people, it's been my experience that 1 out of 20 will write a review if it's good, and 1 out of 2 will write a review if it's bad. That's kind of the human condition.
Well, then it's good if you don't get reviews. Got to find the positive.
That's exactly right. But Rochelle, you do such a great job with this. Would you like to take us out?
I'd be honored. Thank you, Kevin. As always, my gosh, I don't think I'll ever get sick of saying that, for making these conversations possible. And Dr. Martin, thank you for spending your time with us, for doing the work and figuring this out, because some of us have a hard time doing it ourselves. But I'm very excited, for one, to get to meet you. Yes, people, haha, me, I get to meet him. So we'll have a grand time. But as we close out the show, please do remind us of your website, ways that we can contact and find your work and the book, and one message you'd like to leave us with.
Sure. So website's super simple. It's morewithmendelson.com. You can also get there just with my name, martinmendelson.com. Either way it'll work. Pretty big on LinkedIn. Do a lot on Instagram. I'm Doc Martin Empowers on Instagram. So those are the easiest ways to find me. So website, LinkedIn, Instagram. And I think the one thought that I'd like to leave people with is, you got a choice. And I'm going to add to that, if I may. You got a choice, and Rome wasn't built in a day. So give yourself grace. And if nothing else, if you're reacting and catching yourself, well, that's progress too, because Rome wasn't built in a day.
And if you're running an organization and you want someone to come speak to your organization who has got a really good message to give, I know a guy. Rochelle, what's his name again?
I think his name is Dr. Martin Mendelson. Have you heard of him?
I have. He travels all over the country waiting for airplanes because they keep getting canceled on him, doing keynote speeches for organizations everywhere. And I got to tell you, if your company does not have this type of philosophy in percolating up amongst the group, you need to begin that. Well, you don't need to do anything, but if you choose to, you can begin that process and have Dr. Martin come to your event. And his website again, Brichelle, is?
Yes, go to his website. You can find him pretty much everywhere by Martin Mendelson. Thank you again, Doctor, for being here. Everybody go to More with Mendelson. That's MENDELSON.com. He's got the book and any ways to contact him because he also does coaching. So if you need that, reach out. Don't be afraid. Know that you're worth it and you have the choice.
And everybody needs a coach. Because he'll tell you the truth when your friends and family won't.
Get ready.
Thank you, Dr. Martin Mendelson. Have a great day, everybody. And by the way, Michelle, I love that we are not restricted to just an hour anymore because we can't keep it to just an hour. Have you noticed that?
That's fine. We do whatever we want, and you get the choice to do the same thing. So maybe do something positive and have some awareness inside yourself. I promise it will change the way you even see yourself. You deserve it.
I wish I'd have said that. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.